I'm Moose Fries. I'm fighting my way through Devil's Island to show you what you need to get out of here alive. We've been through the forest, and now there's nowhere else to go but up. We've made it to the base of the Able Mountains, and now we've got to focus all of our energy on the future hope of being sighted and rescued. It's time for the climb. But this is no ordinary zip up a cliff. This mountain is actually a live volcano.
Bum, 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 bum.
These are the Able Mountains. They fill the center of this island. Long ago, volcanic activity formed much of what we see in this region of the world today. In 2004, the volcanoes in this region caused the ocean floor to buckle and raise a staggering 15 feet. We are surrounded by what is known as the Oceanic Ring of Fire. There's still plenty of activity in this area, and this island is no exception. At its core beats the heart of a fiery presence so powerful you can feel it through the surface miles away from the depths where it resides. The force of these mountains is truly greater than anything we've seen yet. But there's a ray of hope for this next challenge. I'll show you a few techniques that will help you work with the natural landscape of the mountain rather than struggling and fighting your way against it. It's gonna be tough. And it's gonna be hot, but if you follow a few simple guidelines, you'll come out of this refiner's fire good as gold. Now, because it's volcanic, you'll have to approach this climb differently than you normally would. Since the volcano is active, the heat from underneath causes the surface to secrete a sulfur-alkali mix from the pores of the rock. That's what gives it this yellowish red color instead of a dark black that you'd expect from a volcano. Now, if you know what you're doing, you can use this to your advantage. The natural oils of your skin will actually bond to this mixture, but only if they're freshly produced. So what you'll need to do is get all the dirt and crud and oil off your hands. Now, I've got some water left we found in the forest, so I'm just gonna pour it out and scrub. Now, you're gonna want to work up a sweat. Because this will keep your pores open and get your heart moving. You'll need to get your heart up to a pure rate.
Now that translates to about 155 ticks a minute. You won't get to the top of this mountain without clean hands and a pure heart.
When you're climbing, the heat of the rock will make you sweat. And that's a good thing, because the chemical reaction of the alkali, fresh oils, and sweat will give you almost spider-like powers on these rocks. Using a flattened hand technique, you will be able to top Able Mountain in no time. The most difficult part is remaining calm and trusting the mountain to hold you. Your natural reflex is to contract your fingers and try to claw your way to the top. You won't make it far like that. You need to keep your hand open and use the increased surface contact to pull yourself up. You also want to keep your body as close to the surface as you can. This technique is called a prostrate climb. In this position, you'll be able to scale distances you never thought possible otherwise. Even experienced climbers find it difficult at times to apply these techniques. Last fall, there was a former gold medalist training for a pentathlon on these rocks. He made it very close to all the way to the very top when his natural instincts kicked in and he began to scrape and scramble for the peak. Once he'd abandoned his disciplines, he fell all the way back down to the bottom. Somehow, he miraculously managed to survive. But he had brought an awful lot of blokes along with him, and as high up as he was, everybody saw him fall. After that, his own team wouldn't allow him back on to have another go. His advisors said the publicity of it all would hurt his chances in getting back into Olympic contention. Recovering from a fall like that is a very different kind of climb altogether.
That was a close one. I found a handhold, tried to reach up and pull myself up in my own strength. Old habits are hard to break.
It's a little nerve-wracking, allowing the mountain to grip you. But if you can get past your fear, you will make it to safety. So much of your survival depends on keeping a right attitude, pushing past your comfort zone and focusing on the hope of your future rescue.
Well, here we are, all in one piece. And the view from up here is just breathtaking. If you've made it this far, you've beaten Devil's Island. And now it's just a waiting game until you're rescued. The skies overhead are full of activity, and because it's a volcano, it's checked quite often. So really, all the rescuing work is done for you. Now, you've got to be careful up here, because this altitude puts us right in cloud country. And that's going to mean a couple of things. Now, after a climb like that, you're going to be thirsty. And the terrain up here is going to be quite accommodating. The surface temperature of the mountain at this altitude is much cooler, so water collects in these tiny fissures all across the top. Now that doesn't look like much, but the water up here will replenish almost as soon as you drink it. So you can take all of that and it'll grow right back. Because the water comes straight from the heavens and runs across the rock, it's filtered for all its impurities. And it's loaded with plenty of minerals and good vitamins. So this living water is good to drink just like it is. Next, all this condensation can make it a bit slippy up here. So, for some good traction, what you could do is take your socks and fix them just on the outside of your boots. This is a trick I've used on glaciers in the past to get a bit of extra footing. And when you're at this height, solid footing is the most important thing you can have. We're going to take a moment and build a quick shelter. Even though your rescue is sure, it can still be somewhat of a process in the happening. So, we might as well take advantage of this lovely weather and this beautiful view and make a nice little burrow to nest up in. Because we have rich volcanic soil and an ample water supply, there's going to be some trees around here. So, now that you've made it, it's time to let someone know about it.
To make sure we're seen, we're going to offer up some smoke and plenty of movement. It's probably easy enough just to wave down a passing plane, but when you need to be rescued, no amount of signal is too much. Offering up a good strong signal can go a long way to restoring some much needed peace within you. Knowing for sure that you've been recognized and accepted can spell big time relief and give you the added patience you'll need while rescuers plan your retrieval. To build a good signal fire, you'll need a pyramid construction model. Your frame will start with a wide base and point upward. Next, you'll put all the dead and dry stuff at the bottom. That's going to heat up and burn out fast. Next, you'll need a bit of a shelf to separate the old from the new. On this shelf, we're going to pile on most of our fuel. Last, you need fresh green foliage for smoke. Once that's ready, you can begin work on a quick shelter. A simple lean-to is sufficient up here. There's enough natural cover to shelter you from any storm. The weather is nice enough, you won't need much insulating. But after what you've been through, it's good to have a comfortable place to lay your head. I'm just going to prop up a large branch by a cleft in this rock face and cover my exposed side with foliage. This will hedge me in and allow the heat of the rock to insulate me for the night. At this point, you can sit tight, enjoy the view, and get a good bit of well-deserved rest. Devil's Island may have tested everything in us, but standing here in the quiet, peaceful breeze, all you can see are new horizons.
Bum, 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 bum.